Earlier this month, Coronation Street fans saw Becky Swain banged up for 12 years after various misdemeanours that she committed during her time on the cobbles. Police corruption, kidnapping, attempted murder, and the less said about her crimes against fashion, the better. Here with me today to chat about her 4 months on the cobbles is actress Amy Cudden. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Michael. What an introduction. Hello, it's lovely
That,
to be here.
Lovely to meet you. That coat, Amy, that coat. I mean, it's taken on a life of its own.
I know. It's kind of iconically awful, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
there's no denying its awfulness. It's just like it's made of like polythene. It's that sort of like really dingy, moldy green. Yeah, there's no denying it. It's
Did you
it's
get to
just
keep
awful.
it?
No, no, I didn't. I did sort of kind of want like a ceremonial burning at the end of it, but I think there was just because it's made of plastic, it would have been very bad for the environment. So
Maybe they'll like stick it in the exhibition or something, so
I really
Swala
hope
fans can
not.
come in,
I
spit on
really hope not.
it.
Just throw it outside like the turnstile gates for people just to tear apart.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, right. Let's talk about Becky. We're not here to talk about coats. Well, not just coats. What were your initial thoughts on playing Becky in a storyline that you knew was going to get be a character that would be getting between a really popular couple?
I totally honestly, my first thought was amazing. Like, what an incredible job. I was absolutely blown away. Definitely the biggest telly job I'd ever had. Um, Highest profile, the longest run in something. So I was just overjoyed. And then I think I said this on another podcast, but like a day later, I had a chat with Kate Brooks, the
Hmm.
producer, and she talked me through everything, which took about an it took 2 hours. We talked for 2 hours, and that was mostly
Wow.
Kate just talking me through everything that Becky was going to do. And I knew that she had potentially done some wrong things and may do more wrong things, but I had no idea she was. I had no idea of like the scale and the extremes and like the spectrum
Yeah.
that she was going to run.
So you
And
knew
then
it
of
was going to
course,
be a like 4 or 5 month job, did you? Right from the start?
yeah, I knew it was like a good solid chunk of time, but I didn't quite realize how sort of how much would be compressed into that time.
Hmm.
Um, and I did have an idea of Swala, like I'd had an idea of like the relationship and like you get an idea of like key characters and soaps and stuff
Yeah.
and like names tend to crop up, but I had no real comprehension. Like I went in pretty blind, and one thing that I was advised to do was just to come off social media, and I mean I wasn't really on it anyway. And the one account I do have was private,
Hmm.
but I still somehow managed to make some friends on this account with some Swallow fans who were just completely lovely, actually,
Yeah.
completely lovely.
Yeah, they are. Tell me a
Yeah.
bit about the casting process and like any chemistry tests or anything that you did.
So I live down south, and the so after I sent in my self-tape, in which they changed the names of the characters, so I had no idea. I had no idea.
Oh,
So I Googled the names of the characters in the script that I was sent, and of course they weren't in the show, and I was like, well, this is.
yeah.
But because of like the level of secrecy, they will often sort of write like a dummy scene or something that sort of deals with the dynamics of the characters but isn't necessarily going to be used. So I sent in my self-tape and got a chemistry read with the impeccable, glorious Vicky Myers,
Mhm.
who is just, I mean, like the talent just like radiates off the woman. So I went up to Manchester. I didn't sleep at all the night before. Got into the room. I think they were running a little bit late, so I ended up sort of sitting in a kind of like a glass box, like a room sort of attached to the main entrance but it's just glass. So you kind of like you feel quite watched anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I know exactly where you mean.
you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean. So I sat there just sort of twiddling my thumbs, trying not to think about it too much, just trying to sort of be relaxed. And then lovely Jenny, the casting director, came in and said, "So I'm just going to give you a bit of backstory." So all of this backstory about who Becky Swain was hit me in the face, and then I had like 3 minutes to sort of metabolize that, and then went to do the scene in like at the back of the Rover's Return because like obviously the interiors and the exteriors are in different places,
Mm.
and like Vicky had already done this chemistry read with I think like 6 or 7 other actors,
Wow.
and she had given it 100% every single time, and she brings so much. So I instantly, like, I just walked into the space and I was like, I'm gonna have to raise my game hard. And not that you never walk into an audition not raising your game. Like, I was always going to go in with a raised game, but as soon as I sort of like got into the space with Vicky and saw how present she was and how open and how generous, I was like, right, no messing around. I've got to just leap. I've got to leap and just trust that it will all kind of come together. Uh, and so we did this in a couple of times, and I think we may have done it once. Don't quote me on that. Um, and it was lovely. And I think because we did it once, I did walk out going, oh, well, I screwed that up. That's that one gone. Had to sort of employ some, just cancel and continue. It's fine. It was a lovely opportunity. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. And then I think I heard a couple of weeks later they were like, we need to bring her back in. We need to bring you back in because um there were other people that they liked a lot for it. And I think they just wanted to sort of test the dynamic with Ali and Sydney.
Hmm.
So came back in, again, just tried to sort of be as relaxed as possible. The warmest welcome from Ali King, who just gave me literally hadn't met me before ever, just gave me the warmest embrace. Was like, oh,
Oh.
you're gonna be fine, and like lovely Sid, and yeah, we had a scene where I had to kind of be fun mum, and then pivot to being menacing psychopath.
So what
It was
after your first week on Corrie, what kind of impression did you want the viewers to have on her? Like, were you supposed to think straight away she was a menacing psychopath, or were we supposed to kind of feel sorry for her in any way at all?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the thing is, I think my I do that slightly annoying acting of talking about my process, but my process is always to come from a place of the character thinks that they're doing the best they can in the situation they're in,
Hmm.
because it just makes it more interesting. You know, if I went in sort of like pure baddie from the off, there wouldn't be a journey. It wouldn't be, and also you wouldn't believe it. Like you wouldn't believe that someone of like D.S. Swain's intelligence is being pulled in by, a moustache twirling pantomime villain. So I went in and I was like, this is real. This is really real for my character. Like she may have done all of this terrible stuff and she's, you know, where did I go to? I went to Alicante, didn't I? So I went off to Alicante, a bunch of money, and it was all my fault. And I was being greedy, and I totally left my family in the lurch, and all of that is absolutely awful. Doesn't mean I didn't love them,
Mm.
and doesn't mean that it didn't tear me apart to leave them. I know I chose to leave them, and I chose to lie, but I still love them. I still adore them. The two things can be true at the same time. And I think that always makes for a slightly more interesting character because then also you get to see the character make choices in the moment and you get to see them not know what they're going to do and have to choose. And I think if you go in evil from the off, then you never make any choices. You're just
Mm.
evil.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, and you just get to, and you'll see a stereotype, you'll see a trope. Whereas if you see someone who is conflicted and complex, and of course makes terrible, stupid, selfish decisions, um, there's lots to really dislike and dare I say hate about Becky Swain, but she's still human.
Yeah.
And I think that's always for me is the more interesting route. Not of course that I blame
Mhm.
anyone for hating her because she is obviously a wrong un.
She is, she is. She won our wrong on award, didn't she?
Yes, yes, she did.
Official wrong.
My heart.
I know you said you came off social media a bit during that time. Did you get to see much of the reaction online though, the day that you appeared, your first episode?
Sorry, I just did the most unattractive, awful snort at the end of that laugh. Um, I I did like a peek. I did like a sort of a peek through my fingers
Yeah.
where I Googled Becky Swain and then I looked at it like that. I didn't look at any of like the chat stuff. I was just like, what are they? Because I thought if I look through my fingers, then I'm going to see stuff that's been like the Metro or something like that. And they won't have anything too too horrific or soul scarring. And
Sure.
so I mean, but I got the gist. Like even through like the filtered information I got, I was like, oh my God.
Because I think fans had been kind
They're
of
coming for
pondering
me.
it. We've been kind of thinking for a few months, like, well, what if? What if she's not dead? But I don't think we ever truly thought definitely going to happen. So it was still a bit of a shock when it all
Yeah.
came out.
Well, that's really interesting. So yeah, I have no idea how, because I just didn't want to look at anything, and also purely because I was afraid of being self-conscious and then that
Mm.
impacting being present on set. Because as you said, we learned so many lines so quickly. The turnover is unbelievably fast. I was like, I just want to keep my head in the game. So I didn't sort of like look at any buzz or any build up or anything. So were people sort of generally convinced that she was dead?
I think they had been at the beginning of the year, and I think it was kind of maybe like late spring, early summer. I started to see some people talking about, but what if she's not? And it was we were kind of me personally. I was building myself up the closer we got, thinking, yeah, I think she might be alive actually, but no, they'd never do that, would they? It was that kind of thing. And then on the
Yeah.
episode before, where we had a bit of, Becky vision watching round corners, but we didn't actually see you, I was like, yeah, that's her, isn't it? But that's that scene though, where you turned up and Lisa drops a wine glass. That was amazing.
So good. Do you know I shot that on my second day?
Was it? Wow.
Talk about high stakes.
It
Like,
is. That's straight into the fire, isn't it? Wow,
oh,
you both did an
100%.
amazing job with that.
Oh,
Really, really
thank
good.
you.
And it
Yeah.
was from that was the beginning of your months under the microscope, wasn't it? Because I mean, Swala fans are great, but they like to analyze all the minutiae, everything that you were doing.
100%.
How was that for you?
Um, I think how did I process that? I had to sort of slightly dissociate from it, if I'm honest, because um as soon as you start watching yourself from the outside as an actor, you're kind of on a hiding to nowhere. Like
Mm,
if you start trying to analyze what you're doing or watch yourself through the eyes of people who will sort of want to seize on something and, unpack it because they're passionate, and because it's so important. I don't think I would be serving them.
mm,
I would be giving them a performance um that was sort of slightly strangled.
yeah.
So I just tried to sort of dissociate from the reality of like how the end product might be received or picked over or looked at, and just sort of try and stay really present in the moment.
Mm.
Because I think that's the best way to do the job and to serve the story and to make it interesting,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
makes a lot of sense. So what were you told about the personality and the character of Becky when you were given the part? What were you told that she'd be like?
I was told, well, I was told what she did, and I was
Mm,
told what the producers and the writers sort of believed were her motivations. And
hmm
kind of beyond that, I mean, again, I'm a fan of kind of approaching a character from, you are what you do. That's what character is, are the choices that you
mm,
make. You can have characteristics, you can have ways of being, you can have like the characteristic of being, I don't know, like stubborn or stroppy or gentle or loving, or like you can have all of these characteristics, but what you do is the character, is the person that you are. And
right.
that applies to us, it applies to human beings in real life, right? We are what
Mm,
we do. We can
mm,
say who we think we are, but when the stakes are high, the choice you make in that moment determines who you are. So I was told that she genuinely loves her family, like she adores her family.
mm,
So I sort of seized on that and I was like, so how do I work this equation? How do I work that someone who adores their family could have left their family and could
mm,
have lied to them and then go on to manipulate them? And so I came at it from the perspective of someone who has a sort of narcissistic worldview. So they're very
mm,
much everything sort of radiates out from them. which means that their idea of love ultimately has them at the center of it.
Mm.
Quite often, that's because there's probably like a massive lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
So they're constantly trying to shape the world to kind of reflect back the best version of themselves, uh, which is really horribly unhealthy and takes agency away from the people that they love, but they will never see it. They will never see it like that.
Mm.
So I kind of came at it like that in terms of sort of personality. I worked very much with, do you know what? You'll figure out what my personality is by what I do, and we'll
Right.
kind of figure it out together because again, I think that's what human beings do, right? Our
Mm,
personalities
mm.
evolve based on our interactions and based on our relationships. So I was like, I think I'll just do that.
Did you get the impression that the Becky that we saw rock up in September was quite different to the Becky that had married Lisa all those years ago? I mean, had Spain changed her?
That's such a good question. Um, I think all of that had changed the ends to which she would go to get what she wanted.
I see.
I think her ways of getting those things was sort of to a certain extent still the same. Like I think she could still make Lisa laugh. I think she was still sort of playful. I think she was still like the fun mum.
Mm,
Uh, but I think the ends to which she was prepared to go evolved hugely when she was on her own in Alicante. Yeah.
yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you've spoken in interviews before about how fun it was playing Becky at times, and I loved the chaos that she brought to the street. What were some of the kind of the your favorite mischievous moments for Becky?
Um, well, so it's tricky because I'm trying to sort of think about like from the outside, the sort of the fun mischief. Because actually, I just had quite a lot of fun mischief on the daily with Ali and Sid and Vix and Ryan as well, who I love. Um, what are
I
some of
really
the
liked the spoon drop moment.
Do you know what? I did see on Instagram someone had done like a reel that was like 20 seconds of Becky Swain being absolutely insane. And it just had this like doo-doo-doo-doo kind of soundtrack. And one of them was me just looking at the screen going, yeah, that was fun because that was the first time that Becky had like a private moment with the audience
Yes.
that I was able to kind of go, oh, okay, so I can. And you always have to check in because you're like, where are we in the story? Like, how much do people know? How much have we given away? And often because you're filming, I remember like filming across 10 episodes in a 2 week block. So you can be bouncing from an episode way down the road to like right back at the beginning of the block. And you just got to kind of really carefully track it all. And I remember the gorgeous director whose name escapes me for now. I'm so sorry. Gorgeous director. But I said, so is it okay? Can I go evil? And he went, oh, you can go so evil. I was like, oh yeah.
That must have been brilliant. Because you're right, it was you weren't
Much fun.
obviously a villain at the beginning. And I remember kind of midway through your tenure, there was a turning point. It's like, I don't think there's any going back now. And it was almost like that,
Yeah.
that spoon drop was it.
It's lovely because it just changes the narrative drive of
Yeah.
the story for the audience as well because you're on the outside, so you've got this kind of mystery of like what are her motivations, what's going on, and then you just see like you see the moustache twist and you're like, right, well now we're in on the secret and it becomes about suspense and it becomes about oh no, come on, which is really really clever writing.
Mm.
It's knowing just when to twist it so the audience are kind of like in on the gag as well. I've just thought of another good mischief moment was being drunk.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me
It
about
was
that.
it was so much fun. So that was Lee Trevor directing that one. And he was the one who said, you know what? He said, when you collapse, just let the bottle roll, and then we'll just get that lovely noise of the bottle like rolling down towards Lisa's feet. And it was just very hard not to laugh. Um, and also when my mum watched it, she was like, I've seen you like that before. I was like, when have you seen me fall asleep on a doorstep? And she was like, oh, when you were in your late teens. I was like, I don't think that's true. I think that's a lie.
I want to talk about Corriedale, Amy, because I think we didn't know exactly what was going to happen to Becky in the end, but I think we were all quite certain it was going to be something to do with the crossover. What
Yeah.
did you feel when you found out what that was going to be like for you, the all the Corriedale stuff?
Um, well, first of all, I think it took me like the majority of my time on the show to kind of really wrap my head around how massive it was going to be.
Hmm.
And then that I was driving one of the cars that like caused the crash at the beginning of it. I was like, this is not true. Okay, that's incredible. Um, and I thought it was just really beautifully done. I thought it was really beautifully done. I thought I think it gave a really satisfying end for Becky because like essentially the whole reason that she came back was for her wife and her daughter. But I think really, if she could convince Lisa, that meant that she was okay, that she was a good person. That's how I
Hmm.
felt. Because, to a certain extent, and because she's my daughter, Sid's character was just more manipulable. She's younger, she's more
Yeah.
vulnerable. So if I could keep Lisa on side, then everything was going to be okay. And again, I think Vicky played an absolute blinder because I think her character had suspicion. She wasn't 100% sure, but she was hamstrung because obviously we've got a kid together. She was worried about my safety. But then when she slapped the cuffs on, I just think it was so that like clunk of like the cuffs
Yeah.
closing was so satisfying. And it was absolutely right that Lisa, Vicky did it. It was
You're right.
absolutely to be
You're right.
done.
Because when Lisa invites Becky into the ambulance, I think a lot of us go, "What's she doing? She's not going to take her
What are
back
you
now, is she? What?"
doing? Yeah.
And then that click, that was the moment. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
satisfaction. It was
Oh,
brilliant.
so satisfying. I find it really satisfying when I watch it because the click happens out of shot. So for a moment, you're like, what? And then again, it's just such a clever bit of direction is that you hear the conclusion
Mm,
at the same time as
mm.
Becky. So you're still not sure until you see those cuffs on
Well, it was
that
the
you think
same with Theo and Billy, wasn't it? Because that was a click, putting them into the seat.
that's so true. That's so true. Like a little subtle just,
Yeah.
oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was brilliant, but it was awful.
What did you think about the fact that Becky was arrested eventually and not killed off, as some people had speculated might happen?
Um, That's such a good question. I think it would have been very neat, but I think it would have slowed down the reconciliation um between Swala.
Mm,
I think it would have slowed it down because it would have really complicated the sort of the level of grief and the level of processing. This way, I get my comeuppance and I'm out of the picture.
yeah.
Like there's a process whereby like the whole kind of difficulty of Becky Swain is that Lisa never really got to say goodbye.
Mm,
So it wasn't like they broke up. I died. So the sort of the affection and the love had to be kind of rinsed out of her by me coming back and being an absolute piece of work. This way, she gets to say goodbye and she gets to process. It's not like I
yeah.
die and there's
Yeah.
still unanswered questions or, that Betsy is, in grief and turmoil and complexity. It's just really clear. I am bad and I'm in jail because I'm bad. So you can recover so much more cleanly from that than I think you can from a death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a good shout. I think it was a good shout. I think it allows for the right kind of closure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I always like to know about the behind the scenes stuff in Corrie. So, I mean, this crossover out in the country, night shoots, the driving scenes. Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, of course. So something really interesting about night shoots is that they are exhausting. So I've had a baby, and all I can equate it to is those first sort of 3 months when you've got a newborn, and if they don't sleep, And all of you parents out there that have newborns, you know what I'm talking about. You start hallucinating, you start hearing things. You kind of get to this place where everything gets so heavy that you have to sort of like force yourself back up again. And then you get hysterical. So all of that is going on whilst there are real flames very, very close to your face. So it was this sort of combination, but also some of those shots just took so long to set up, and you have to reshoot them from all different angles. So, like, I think Sid, uh, Vicky, and I were in that car one night for about like 8 hours. And you get out and you have breaks and everything.
Wow.
But you're in the car for 8 hours with like hot water bottles under your bum um and kind of like sort of like making sure that you're sort of like collapsing back into that.
Yeah.
We used to say this was this was Vicky Myers, and this is what sort of started to make us go a bit hysterical. You know, in Toy Story, where the toys are all like they're
Yeah.
all like alive, and then one of the toys will go, "He's coming," and they all collapse again. So whenever because we couldn't hear what was going on outside. We just had to, we'd be sort of like chatting away, being a bit naughty and silly. And then one of us would just have to keep clocking to make, oh no, they're actually filming. Okay, we're supposed to be unconscious. And one of us would just say, and he's coming.
That's great. That's great. I
Um,
suppose though that it sounds like a real slog, these cold night shoots and all this setting around. But I suppose the fact that you were well working together with the cast of both soaps to put something so big, so unique. I mean, that must have counterbalanced some of the
Oh
hard
no,
work, right?
hugely. I mean, there was a huge sense of camaraderie, you know. It's like
Mm,
it, and of course, like this is a privileged whinge. Like the reality is that we were involved in like this huge bit of telly. I think it looks incredible. Stunts were out of this world. Like Dunk was just the most incredible director. Like it was spectacular.
it really
It's
was. It was
absolutely
amazing.
spectacular. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. Like it was just the most extraordinary experience. And also, of course, whenever you go through an experience, like with even like the sort of the smallest modicum of hardship, it just brings everybody together anyway. Like everyone kind of pulls together. Like
Mm,
that scene where we lift the car, when
yeah.
we were rehearsing it, everyone was going, I can't lift the car. And then as soon as we turned the cameras on, everyone just went, "Roar!" like hulks out and lifted the car up out of the mud. Like it genuinely did that. We didn't have like hydraulics. Those were just like that was a bunch of actors
Wow.
that lifted the
Wow.
car out. It was yeah, it was really cool. It's
Speaking of
great.
camaraderie, I mean, it seems that you were very close with the likes of Ali and Sid and Vicky. Is there anyone else on the cast that you kind of gelled with really well during your time there, or did you not get much of a chance? Because you had so many scenes just with those, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I got on really every single time, we worked with Ryan. Like Ryan is just like an absolute dream. He's such a lovely guy.
Hmm.
Um, I shared a dressing room with Shanique, who I adored. And then also, as I was sort of getting ready to leave, Pauline McLynn came in as well, and we just got on really, really well as well. It was just absolutely gorgeous.
Ah,
And how can I forget Theo? Um, Cartwright is just he's just a joke. So we basically decided that we're in V Club together, which stands for villain. So we would just see each other across the county and be like, V Club. You're right, V Club. And yeah, I just loved him because he's like one of the loveliest, bounciest, funniest people you will ever meet, playing an absolute wrong un.
yeah.
So we were just like, we'd give each other like a little supportive V Club hug.
What was it like working with Dan Brony, who plays Costello?
Oh, Dayon. Sorry, how can I love Dayon? Dayon also I just absolutely adored. The So two things. So Dayon's very tall and I'm quite small. So anytime I had to do anything threatening with him, it would be slightly undermined by the fact that I'd have to crane my neck up and kind of like hiss this very tall, very beautiful, imposing man. And also he's just like really lovely, gentle, funny, sweet guy. So whenever like we had all of our like menacing ginnel scenes, uh, would we just be like giggling off against each other, and then like we'd stop and we just start singing a little song or having a little dance. Do, 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 do. Um, Again, totally undermining like our threatening evil characters. Yeah, but he was great. He was great, and I loved. We had one particularly shady Ginnell scene where it was just like this little sort of poker match of who, like basically just trying to, it was just like a little power struggle all the way through. Um, it was just loads of fun doing that with him.
Oh. Did you ever have any like theories about the nature of their relationship that didn't quite make it onto screen? Because it was all really mysterious about what they
Yeah.
had and hadn't done together in their past.
Well, mm, I mean, we sort of worked out the kind of the sort of the tentpole sort of mechanism of like how it had kind of come about. But I think ultimately, I think the power kind, oh, okay, no, this is tricky. So I think initially, I think Costello basically saw a weakness in Becky that she was potentially sort of morally flexible.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that once Becky got involved, she basically she started to get the upper hand. She started to have more power. I think she started to push for them to do bigger and bigger. I don't know if jumps is the right word, but like to basically take bigger, more and more risks for
Yeah,
more and more cash. So I think ultimately it was, sorry, I'm aware that my video camera is probably a little bit laggy.
it's all right.
Um,
Don't worry.
it's all right. That's my
Just
fault.
keep going. It's fine.
Let's keep going. Um, yeah, I think Becky was pushing for the jobs to get bigger and bigger.
Right.
And I think he just kind of got pulled in out of his depth.
Mm.
Uh, he had the collateral of like, you're not supposed to be here, you're supposed to be dead. So that's why they had to kind of like keep, brinkmanshipping each other with like who was going to be, more evil to the other person.
Yeah. I mean, Becky seemed to have, I don't know, did she have like an army of goons for website design, or did she just have a really dedicated lackey that were doing
I
a
had a
little jobs
website
for her?
goon, I had a passport goon, I had like crap clothing goon, all the goons. I think these are people that would have been kind of connections that she made through the gang.
Mm,
And then I think my logic was that these are connections that I've made through the gang, and then I've paid off to do a bit of work on the side for me. I've just used some of my, Alicante money to sort of to get a bit of like under the table work that, the remainder of Curtis's gang would never know about.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was never really any danger from Curtis's gang, right? It was all a ruse.
Yeah. Well, originally there was the potential that maybe someone from the gang might come back as part of the threat, but I think they just ended up being like, oh no, Becky's just a big giant liar. Yeah, there was no real trouble. I was never really in danger. It was a manipulation.
Well, she's certainly paying for all those lies now. Banged up, threatened by prisoners in there. That final scene was that the last scene you filmed, or you kind of out of order?
Out of order. That was the penultimate week we filmed that, and then I think the following week we did the hotel room.
Oh yeah.
Um, the sort of the preparing to do a runner.
Mm,
Um,
taking the phones.
yes, yes, taking the phones.
Presuming
Um,
that those prisoners don't carry out their threats on Becky, do you think that she'd be up for coming back in 12 years and having another crack at Lisa, or do you think she knows when she's beat?
in another 12 years. Do you know what I do? I do not know. I think, I think no. I think once you're her enemy, you're hardcore her enemy.
Mm.
And I think now, I think Betsy is probably like the only person that she would be trying to sort of infiltrate. I'm not saying there's knowing anything, by the way. Like
No, no.
genuinely, all I know is I'm in prison.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I wonder whether over time, because you had that final scene with Betsy, didn't you? And she went quite quickly from being all about how brilliant her mum was to I hate you, I hope you rot in there. But it feels like, given time, she could start to take pity on Becky again.
well, but the question is, would I deserve pity? Will I have
Oh
reformed?
no.
Would I be a reformed character, or am I just like, am I rotten?
I think you'd be
Probably
able to trick her. It's fine. It's all right.
would, wouldn't I? Yeah. I don't
So,
know. No, I don't know. I think she's a smart cookie. I don't
mm.
know.
Well, you never,
I
I
don't
mean, it could be 6 years for good behaviour, but I can't see Becky and good behaviour going well together, you know?
know. I can see Becky and manipulation going well together, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's going to
running
be
around.
ruling that
She'll
prison,
be
isn't
cooking
she?
up some kind of scheme. She'll be cooking up some kind of scheme
Sure.
and and covering it all by like running a book club or something. And like no one will have a clue that she's actually taking the prison apart brick by brick and selling it out from under their noses.
Brilliant. So you finished filming Corrie back in the autumn, and since then you've been involved in another project, haven't you? Afterbirth, your short film. Tell me about that.
So, oh, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, so
Okay. I'm
last
genuinely interested. It looks quite fascinating.
thank you. Well, my sister and my sister used to be an actor as well, and then she went out to LA before lockdown, started to train to be a producer. We're both mums now, and she moved to live close to me and my family when she and her partner had their baby. And last year, she just came up with this idea. A friend of hers had gone out for dinner, who was also a mum, and as she was getting ready, she put on some makeup and got herself ready. And her little one said, "Mummy, why are you wearing that mask?" And Lucy was kind of struck by the idea of putting on a different version of yourself when you leave your home, but then also struck with the idea that, like, what happens at the end of the day when your baby goes to sleep? Is there another version of yourself, or do you just take off that version of yourself and then what is left underneath? Um, and so the whole idea was it's about matrescence. It's about so if adolescence is the process of becoming a teenager, the matrescence is the process of becoming a mother
Right.
specifically. And that when you have a child, there is to a certain extent, there is your personality, who you are, has to come apart in order to come back together with your child sort of at the center of it, but you do still have to come apart.
Mm,
And the whole thing is like if you are the primary carer as the mother, and I'm fully aware that there are um, men, non-binary people who are also the primary carer as well, but obviously
mm,
my experiences as like a female presenting mother, um, you, there is no one to co-regulate me.
mm,
There was no one. So like my husband was working or he was sleeping because he was going to have to get up at 5 o'clock and do the feed. So I would be my child's like emotional kind of like absorbent blanket. But where did all of that go in me? And like where did all of that cortisol and adrenaline and joy and dopamine and all of these confusing complex body changing, no sleep, like huge cortisol spikes. Like, where does all of it go? And so, Afterbirth is a short film about what happens at the end of one particularly stressful day, at the beginning of which uh, uh, a mum with a new baby, her baby has accidentally broken her nose.
mhm,
So she puts on a bunny mask to hide the break so that it doesn't scare the baby.
mhm.
And at the end of the day, this long, tiring day where she's just endless obstacles, the endless like domestic obstacles of just getting through the day, she goes to take the bunny mask off and discovers that it's stuck to her face.
Oh no.
So she starts to pull and pick and tear at it and manages to tear it off, but her face comes with it.
Oh my gosh.
So
This
underneath,
is horrifying.
it is, well, it's a female body horror. So
Yeah.
underneath she's blank. So then the sort of the middle third of the film is her trying to re-find her face through various means. Um, and then ultimately, the only way that her face will come back is if she kind of lets go. She kind of lets go and allows herself to sort of dissolve so that she can then re-find herself. And I don't want to sort of say too much more than that, but it's our first independent short feature. We did it on a shoestring budget. I finished on Corrie on the Thursday,
Yeah.
and then we shot the film the following Wednesday through to
Oh
the
wow.
Sunday. And it was amazing. It was brilliant. It was just again like a huge privilege with an amazing team of people. I was really, really lucky.
That sounds great. So, what are the plans for premiering the film? When might we expect to see it?
So I'm actually going to do the first edit this weekend with our editor, so that's really exciting.
Exciting.
In terms of where we'll screen it, I'm not sure yet, but I will absolutely put something on my one active social media post. Um, yeah, I mean, I will put it into festivals. It's the very first project that my sister and I are doing together, but we want to sort of focus on female-led projects, and we are particularly interested in horror, actually, in
Yeah.
psychological horror, and um, I think it's a really useful genre to kind of unpick lots of things, and you can get away with a lot with horror. You can
Okay.
explore these really big ideas in a really fun way. And I'm never into sort of exploitative stuff. I'm never into like sort of like blood and gore for just the sake of like splashing a bit of red around. It's always to sort of um, explore something more psychological or um yeah, or to sort of like use it as a metaphor to kind of like reflect something more internal. But it has been an awful lot of fun so far. I've really,
Sounds
really
great.
liked
I can't wait to see it, to hear more about that.
it. Oh, definitely. I'll
Listen,
send
just
you
to
the
finish
link.
things off, Amy, we know that the Weatherfield Police are big fans of the whole three words thing after the whole Rhubarb Blessing Hill mystery. So, final question. What three words would you use to describe your time on Corrie?
Life-changing, um, emotional, and glorious.
Oh, lovely. Well, just wait for the Swaller fans to be putting that in what three words, and we'll see what secret location, what hideout that reveals.
Probably right to where I live.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Amy, it's been so lovely talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. For a character that was in the show for so little time, you seem to know Becky so well, and it was really a pleasure being able to pick your brains about her. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me on. I've absolutely loved it.
No worries. I will let you go then. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye, bye, Cor.